This is a part of the opening scene for the game Omori. You're presented with this area called the white space without much more context than the fact that you have been living here for as long as you can remember. Once you are given control over this black and white little pixel dude, the first instinct as a player is to look around. There's a cat, a black light bulb, a tissue box, or tears obviously, a sketchbook with this inside,
Hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
and a PC that gives you the option to open your journal. Clicking on this prompt presents you with a calendar, except each day is labeled with question marks and every single entry says either one or two things. Today I spent time in white space, everything was okay, or today I visited my friends, everything was okay. And if all that isn't enough to convince you that something is off, there is a knife that you can pick up just slightly to the right. The last thing to interact with is a realistic white door, which allows you to open it. Once you enter the door, you are sent to this world known as Headspace. Here, you are greeted as Omori by these characters named Aubrey, Kel, and Hiro. For the purpose of this analysis, all you need to know is that they are his childhood friends, and that Hiro is an absolute Chad. Okay, you really don't need to know that last part, but I thought it just should be known. From that point on, they follow you wherever you go. In contrast with White Space, Headspace is a colorful world, filled with funny looking creatures, interesting stories, and fantasy-like areas. The game has a really fun turn-based combat system, except instead of games like Pokemon, you can attack with all characters per turn, so a lot of fights end up feeling like... Also, most of the enemies are cute as fuck. Like, how am I supposed to hurt this little thing and feel good about myself? As you go through the world, your main goal is to find your friend Basil, who went missing, but most of the time, the real focus is on all the other side quests that you do, and finding Basil just feels like an afterthought. Oh, you guys need some extra players to play hide and seek? Sure, why not? Oh, the moon needs help running away from these space pirates? I got you, chief. The leader of those same space pirates is dealing with a breakup and needs you to retrieve his favorite CD so you can play for him some music and get his spirits up? I have nothing better to do. From one Headspace character to the next, you continue to help them out by completing their quest lines. And honestly, it's quite fun. Ayo, what's that thing? Ain't no way, bro. Once again, you're back in white space. Same old place, with same old things. The cat, the black light bulb, the tissue box, PC, sketchbook, and the door. Where'd the door go? Huh? How am I supposed to leave? Oh. Once doing some not so child-friendly things, you wake up in Faraway Town, also known as the place where you grew up in. As opposed to Headspace, the town is... well, real. There's not much I can say about it without spoiling the story, but here is where you learn that the actual name of your character is Sunny, and that you are moving out of the town in 3 days. All of your friends are older versions of themselves, and you haven't made contact with any of them, or anyone for that matter, since you were kids. The reason? Well, let's just say that 4 years ago, something really not very good happened, and because of that everyone has grown apart, and is a reason for Sunny's PTSD and self-seclusion. So why do I like this game so much? While there are a lot of really good reasons for liking it, such as the amazing story, beautiful music, or interesting world building, there is one thing that really stuck out to me in particular. And that is the topics of trauma and escapism, how they play into each other, and how the game makes you come to a full understanding of them without stating either word even once. The game may look like it's from the third person, but really everything is presented in the second. The fact that this is an RPG means that you get to control Sunny and decide what he does for the 3 days before his move. Yet there are still bars on what you can and can't do, depending on Sunny himself. If he doesn't know something yet, then neither do you. If he doesn't want to go somewhere yet, then you can't go there no matter how hard you try. From all the way to the very beginning of the game, it lets you know that you have been living here for as long as you can remember. Video games offer humans a new experience in history, namely microcontrol over objects in the virtual space. This gives us the feeling that our bodies and minds have extended into this virtual space, and that the space of the real and the virtual are joined. Key 2008. Games in general are meant to put you into the world of the game. Omori takes it a step further by putting you into the mind of the game's protagonist. Everything from the background music, to the rare out-of-place enemies, to the way the screen changes in certain situations is meant to make you feel the way that Sunny does. The music is one of my favorite ways it portrays this. Each area has its own personal background music, and it makes you understand exactly what Headspace is to Sunny. I mean, just listen to these areas from the start of the game. These tracks present melodies that are very calm and slow. Yet the actual pitch of each note presents dissonance. The music is trying to put up a tranquil facade, but ultimately fails due to its true nature. It feels like there's a thin layer of gentleness that can be ripped away at any second to reveal what lays under. Headspace is a world of false comfort, a world that tries its hardest to convince you that everything is okay. As the player, you understand this, and by extension, so does Sunny. But the alternative to this state of stagnation is to face the reality, which is something that he wants to prevent at all cost. This is also the reason for Sunny's self-seclusion, because everything that signifies his life after the event only acts as a reminder for it. It is the reason why in order to come back into the real world, he has to stab himself, while going into Headspace is as easy as walking through a door. The game is letting you know that facing the world around you is so much harder than it is to live in this world of happiness, even if it is fake. The issue is that this method of coping through excess escapism simply isn't healthy. In a study in which 108 survivors of trauma were surveyed on coping mechanisms along with the levels of psychological distress, they found that out of all surveyed coping mechanisms, escape and avoidance strategies were most consistently correlated with high psychological distress. Charlton and Thompson, 1996. Does that sound familiar? Not the Charlton and Thompson part, you big dummy. I mean the part about the results of escapism. The way in it's such a dumb joke. The way in which Sunny deals with his trauma causes him extreme stress, and you see how his strategies affect himself both inside and out. Omori not only represents the state of Sunny as he was 4 years ago, but also the suppression of anything that came after, as that too may serve as a reminder. That is why, in such a colorful world, he is monochrome, and why among all these super talkative characters, he doesn't mutter a single word. He can't afford to remember his trauma, so no matter where he is in his mind, he needs to make sure that his thoughts don't run free. Omori is the definition of a black light bulb, suppressing his ideas so that his memories may never come out. But this behavior only worsens the conditions of PTSD. In a study that looked to examine attempts to modulate negative emotional and cognitive symptoms of PTSD, they found that thought suppression was generally the only significant independent contributor to scores of PTSD, meaning that those who try to suppress their thoughts the most will end up with higher levels of these symptoms of PTSD. The game mirrors this, as throughout your playthrough cracks will begin to form. Every once in a while you meet a character that isn't very PG, encounter a frightening enemy, or find literal holes in the world that lead to weird spaces that feel like they just shouldn't be there. This layer of innocence and comfort begins to unravel itself, and the subconscious begins to show. Omori tries to avoid these situations as they come up, but it feels like whatever he's trying to prevent is slipping through his fingers. Sunny's mind is literally breaking down in front of you, and the snapping point feels inevitable. This game makes you feel how it is to live with PTSD, and then shows you how bad things can get when dealing with it in an unhealthy way. So why does it matter that this random JRPG style game gives you this experience? Well, it's important. For those of us who are dealing with similar issues to Sunny, it acts as validation for the feelings we have, and it shows us the result of delving into maladaptive coping mechanisms. From there, it teaches you how to progress forward, even if it is really, really hard. For those of us who don't quite understand trauma, it allows us to empathize with those who deal with these issues. The best way to understand how someone else feels is to see the world through their eyes. Doing so broadens our perspectives, and from that we can see each other as we are, human. And I think I could speak for both parties in saying that this game left us collectively bawling our eyes out. So yeah, Omori, go check it out. I like the game. I think it is very good.